The silent watchers. The observation station floated in the darkness between star systems. A delicate structure of crystalline towers and transparent domes that reflected the distant starlight like a jewel suspended in velvet. For 300 cycles, the Zentari had maintained this outpost at the edge of explored space, watching, recording, and learning from the cosmos without interfering in the affairs of other species. Dr. Kelvin stood in the central observatory, his slender form merely casting a shadow in the soft blue light. His large eyes, adapted for seeing in multiple spectrums, studied the data streaming across his console with growing concern. The Zentari were a patient people, evolved from herbivores on a world where survival meant observation and careful planning rather than aggression. They had joined the galactic community 2,000 years ago, bringing with them a wealth of scientific knowledge and a philosophy of peaceful coexistence that had earned them respect across dozens of worlds. The artifact they had discovered 3 weeks ago changed everything. It hung in the containment field at the center of the station, a sphere of unknown metal that pulsed with energy signatures no one could explain. Kelvin had named it the Whisper because of the strange harmonics it emitted, sounds that seemed to carry meaning just beyond the edge of comprehension. His team had been studying it day and night, trying to understand its purpose and origin. Station. Chief Mirada entered the observatory, her movements graceful despite the worry etched across her features. She was older than Kelvin, her skin bearing the silver patterns that marked a Zentari of advanced years and wisdom. She had commanded this station for 50 cycles, and in all that time, nothing had threatened their peaceful mission. Until now, the sensors are detecting multiple ships approaching our position, she said quietly. They are not responding to our identification requests. Kelvin felt his heart accelerate. The Zentari had few enemies because they made it a point to have no enemies at all. Their stations were unarmed, relying on their neutrality and the protection of galactic law to keep them safe. But the ships approaching were not following any law Kelvin recognized. The main view screen activated, showing a formation of warships that made his blood run cold. They were ugly vessels, built for intimidation and violence, their hulls covered with weapon arrays and armor plating. He recognized the design from intelligence reports. These were Krellian Syndicate ships, mercenaries and pirates who served whoever paid them enough. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they could not take. How many ships? Kelvin asked, though he already feared the answer. 15 confirmed, Miranda replied. All armed and moving into attack formation. They are scanning us extensively, particularly focusing on the containment chamber where we are holding the artifact. They have come for the Whisper, Kelvin realized. Somehow the Krellians had learned about their discovery and decided it was worth stealing. The artifact had been broadcasting its strange signals into space for weeks before they managed to contain it. Anyone listening in the right frequencies would have detected it. The communication system crackled to life, and a harsh voice filled the observatory. Zentari Station, this is Commander Vex of the Krellian Syndicate. You are in possession of property that now belongs to us. Surrender the artifact and evacuate your station immediately. You have 10 minutes to comply. Mirana straightened her spine, displaying the quiet courage that had made her a respected leader. This station operates under the protection of the Galactic Council. Any attack on us is a violation of interstellar law. You will face severe consequences. There was a sound that might have been laughter from the other end. The Council is 3 weeks away, Zentari. Their laws mean nothing out here. 9 minutes remain. The transmission ended, leaving them in silence. Kelvin looked around the observatory at his fellow scientists, good people who had dedicated their lives to expanding knowledge and understanding. None of them were warriors. They had no weapons training, no combat experience. The station had basic shields designed to protect against micrometeorites and cosmic radiation, not military-grade weapons. We must evacuate, someone suggested. Take what we can and flee in the research vessels. Marana shook her head slowly. The Krellians would destroy our ships before we reached minimum safe distance. They want no witnesses to their crime. She moved to her command console, her fingers dancing across the controls. But we will not make this easy for them. Activate all defensive systems. Lock down the artifact containment chamber. Send a distress signal on all emergency frequencies. Kelvin joined her at the console, helping to route power to the station's meager defenses. To whom should we address the distress signal? The nearest Council fleet is too far away to help. Marana paused, considering. There was a new species recently admitted to the Council. The humans. According to the reports, they established a patrol route that passes within 2 days of our position. Humans, Kelvin repeated the word uncertainly. He had read the briefing documents about humanity's admission to the galactic community 6 months ago. They were described as curious explorers and enthusiastic traders, eager to learn and make friends among the stars. They seemed pleasant enough, if somewhat energetic compared to more established species. What could they possibly do against 15 Krellian warships? It does not matter, Marana said firmly. They are the only ones close enough to receive our signal. Perhaps they can at least carry word of what happened here back to the Council. She began composing the message, her words careful and precise. This is Zentari Research Station Epsilon, broadcasting emergency distress call. We are under attack by Krellian Syndicate forces. 15 hostile warships demanding surrender of scientific artifacts. Station personnel numbering 47. Request immediate assistance from any vessels in range. Our position is transmitting on attached coordinates . She sent the message repeating on all frequencies, then turned to address the entire station over the internal communication system. All personnel, this is Station Chief Marana. We are facing a hostile situation. Move to the inner sections of this station and prepare for possible hull breaches. Scientific teams, begin emergency data backup procedures. We will not let our research be lost, even if the station falls. Kelvin watched the countdown timer. 7 minutes remained. The Krellian ships were closer now, spreading into a formation that would surround the station completely. He could see their weapon ports opening, dark mouths ready to devour everything the Zentari had built here. Asterisk, a response came through on the emergency frequency, making everyone in the observatory freeze in surprise. The voice was different from any Kelvin had heard before, carrying an accent that suggested the speaker's native language was very different from Galactic Standard. Zentari Station Epsilon, this is Captain Rebecca Foster of the human patrol ship Defiant. We have received your distress call and are moving to assist. Hold your position. Do not surrender. Help is coming. The transmission was brief and to the point, but something in the tone made Kelvin's skin prickle. There was a certainty there, a confidence that seemed out of place given the circumstances. How could one patrol ship, however brave, stand against 15 Krellian warships? Marana tried to respond. Captain Foster, we appreciate your response, but you should be aware that hostile forces significantly outnumber standard patrol capabilities. We do not wish you to endanger your vessel needlessly. There was a pause. Then the human voice returned with what sounded almost like amusement. Station Chief, we are not sending one patrol ship. The patrol ship was just close enough to receive your signal first. Our main fleet is already en route. Estimated arrival time is 90 minutes. I repeat, do not surrender. Hold your position. Main fleet, Kelvin whispered. What main fleet? The intelligence reports had mentioned nothing about humans maintaining a significant military presence in this sector. The Krellians had heard the exchange. Commander Vex's voice came through again, now tinged with irritation. Zentari, your friends are lying to you. Humans are weak newcomers with barely any ships. They cannot help you. Surrender now, or we will take what we want by force." Mirana looked at Kelvin, and he saw the decision forming in her eyes. "We have come this far," she said quietly. "Let us see what these humans can do." She activated the station-wide communication again. "All personnel, we have received response to our distress call. Human forces are en route. Our task is to survive until they arrive. Seal all blast doors. Activate emergency force fields. Move all non-essential personnel to the central core where the shielding is strongest. Asterisk. The first Krellian shot hit the station's outer shields. A blast of crimson energy that made the entire structure shudder. Kelvin grabbed his console for support as alarms began wailing throughout the observatory. More shots followed, a steady barrage that tested the limits of their defensive capabilities. Shield strength dropping to 70%, a technician called out. "They are targeting the containment chamber, trying to breach our defenses and take the artifact by force." Asterisk. Kelvin watched the tactical display as the Krellian ships moved into optimal firing positions. They were professionals, he had to admit. Their attack was coordinated and efficient, designed to overwhelm the station's defenses quickly without destroying the prize they sought. The Zentari shields were never meant for this kind of sustained assault. They would fail within the hour, possibly sooner. "Human vessel Defiant is approaching at high speed," another technician announced. "They are hailing the Krellian fleet." "On screen. Put them on screen," Mirana ordered. The view screen split to show both the approaching human ship and the Krellian formation. The Defiant was smaller than the Krellian warships, sleek where they were brutal, but it moved with a speed and agility that was immediately impressive. It positioned itself between the station and the attacking fleet, a tiny shield against overwhelming force. Captain Foster's voice came through clearly. "Krellian vessels, this is the human patrol ship Defiant. You are attacking a peaceful research station in violation of galactic law. Cease fire immediately and withdraw, or face the consequences." Commander Vex's response dripped with contempt. "One small ship against my entire fleet. You humans really are as foolish as the reports suggest. I will give you 10 seconds to leave before I add your wreckage to the debris field." Captain Foster did not sound concerned. "Commander, you made 2 mistakes today. First, you attacked innocent people. Second, you did it while humanity was watching. I suggest you check your long-range sensors." There was a pause. Kelvin switched the station's sensors to maximum range, and what he saw made his breath catch. Space was tearing open. Dozens of hyperspace windows were forming, and through each one came ships. Human ships. Not 3 or 4 patrol vessels, but a full battle fleet. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and massive battleships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Kelvin counted quickly and stopped at 50 ships. Knowing there were more still appearing, the Krellian formation wavered. Commander Vex's voice had lost its confidence. "This is impossible. You are explorers and traders. Where did you get a battle fleet?" Captain Foster's response was cold as the void between stars. "Commander, humanity spent 10,000 years fighting each other before we reached the stars. We know war in ways your species never will. You wanted to be predators. You are about to learn what real predators look like." The human fleet moved forward, weapons charging, and Kelvin realized that everything he thought he knew about these friendly newcomers was about to change. The Zentari had called for help, and humanity had answered not with words or diplomacy, but with overwhelming force. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk. When predators answer, the human fleet filled the view screen of the Zentari station, like a swarm of metallic predators circling wounded prey. Commander Vex stared at the tactical display on his bridge, watching in disbelief as more ships continued to emerge from hyperspace. 50 vessels had become 70, then 90, then over 100. Each one moved with precision that spoke of extensive training and coordination. This was not a hastily assembled rescue force. This was a military fleet that had been ready and waiting for exactly this kind of situation. His second officer, a scarred Krellian veteran named Drek, leaned close. "Commander, our sensors are reading energy signatures we have never encountered before. These human weapons are unlike anything in our databases. Their power output exceeds our own by significant margins." Vex felt sweat forming on his scaled skin despite the cool temperature of the bridge. The Krellian Syndicate had built its reputation on being the most dangerous force in this sector of space. They raided with impunity because no one had the strength or will to stop them. But looking at the human fleet now surrounding his ships, Vex realized they had made a catastrophic miscalculation. The lead human battleship, a massive vessel that dwarfed his own flagship, moved into position directly ahead of his formation. It was painted in dark colors with white markings that read "Indomitable" along its hull. The name seemed appropriate. Even without firing a shot, the ship radiated power and menace. Its weapon arrays were larger than anything Vex had seen outside of planetary defense installations. A new voice came through the communication channel, deeper and more authoritative than Captain Foster's. "Krellian Syndicate vessels. This is Admiral James Kowalski of the human battleship Indomitable. You have exactly 60 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender, or we will consider you hostile combatants and respond accordingly." Vex's pride warred with his survival instinct. The Krellians did not surrender. They were the terror of the outer systems, the nightmares that made peaceful species lock their doors and pray. To surrender to these unknown humans would destroy his reputation and possibly his life when he returned to Syndicate space. He activated his communication system to address his fleet. "All ships maintain formation. These humans are bluffing. They would not dare attack us over some insignificant research station. Prepare to resume bombardment of the target." Even as he gave the order, doubt gnawed at him. A human fleet was not posturing. There was no threatening display, no aggressive maneuvering meant to intimidate. They simply waited with the patience of experienced hunters who knew their prey had nowhere to run. Admiral Kowalski's voice returned, counting down. 30 seconds, Commander. I strongly advise you to reconsider. Our weapons are locked on your vessels. Our targeting solutions are optimal. This is your last chance to end this peacefully. On the Zentari station, Calvin watched the confrontation unfold with a mixture of hope and terror. The humans had arrived in overwhelming numbers, but would they actually fight? Most galactic species preferred negotiation and compromise. Direct military confrontation was considered barbaric, a relic of less civilized times. Surely these newcomers understood the conventions of modern warfare. Asteriskishan Chief Mirana stood beside him, her expression unreadable. She had lived long enough to recognize the difference between those who threaten violence and those who are prepared to deliver it. The humans, she suspected, belonged firmly in the second category. The countdown reached 10 seconds. Vex gripped the arms of his command chair, his claws leaving marks in the metal. Around him, his crew waited for orders, their confidence shaken, but their training holding them in place. They were Krellians. They did not flee from anyone. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. Fire all weapons. Vex roared. Show these humans what happens when they interfere with the Syndicate. His fleet opened fire simultaneously, 15 warships unleashing their full arsenals at the human vessels. Crimson energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked through space, enough firepower to reduce a small moon to dust. For a brief moment, Vex felt satisfaction. Let the humans learn respect through pain. The satisfaction lasted exactly 3 seconds. The human fleet responded with a precision that defied belief. Point defense systems activated, creating a wall of intercepting fire that destroyed incoming projectiles before they could reach their targets. Energy shields flared briefly, where beams made contact, then held firm against the assault. Not a single human ship took serious damage from the opening salvo. Then the humans returned fire, and Vex understood true fear. The human weapons were nothing like the energy beams and plasma, torpedoes common to galactic warfare. They fired solid projectiles accelerated to incredible velocities, combined with directed energy weapons that seemed to slice through Krellian shields as if they were not there. The humans called them railguns and particle beams, terms that meant nothing to Vex until he saw them in action. His lead destroyer, the Bloodfang, took a direct hit from a battleship railgun. The projectile, moving at a fraction of light speed, punched through the destroyer's shields, armor, and hull in a single devastating impact. The ship did not explode dramatically. It simply stopped functioning, its main reactor offline, and half its crew dead in an instant. Asterisk, 2 more Krellian ships died in the next 10 seconds, torn apart by weapons that hit harder and faster than anything they had encountered before. The human fleet was not just technologically superior. They fought with a tactical brilliance that suggested centuries of military experience. Smaller human destroyers worked in coordinated groups, surrounding and overwhelming individual Krellian vessels. Carriers launched waves of fighters that moved like schools of fish, impossible to track and deadly to engage. Evasive maneuvers, Vex screamed. Return fire. All ships scatter and attack from multiple vectors. His fleet tried to execute the command, but the humans had anticipated every move. They had positioned their ships to create killing zones, areas of space where overlapping fields of fire made escape impossible. Krellian vessels that tried to flee found themselves running into torpedo spreads that crippled their engines. Those that tried to fight were systematically disabled by focused fire from multiple human ships. Kelvin watched from the Centauri station in amazement. The battle, if it could even be called that, had lasted less than 5 minutes. Already 10 Krellian ships were destroyed or disabled, their hulls torn open and leaking atmosphere into the void. The remaining 5 were trying desperately to withdraw, but human destroyers pursued them like wolves chasing wounded prey. There was no mercy in the human attack, no hesitation or doubt. They had identified an enemy and were eliminating that enemy with ruthless efficiency. Commander, Vex's flagship shuddered as multiple impacts struck its shields. His tactical officer called out damage reports in a voice tight with panic. Shields down to 40%. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 9. Main weapons offline. Engine efficiency reduced to 60%. We cannot win this fight, Commander. We must surrender. Never, Vex snarled, but even he could hear the defeat in his own voice. Send a message to the human fleet. Tell them we are willing to negotiate terms. Admiral Kowalski's response came immediately, as if he had been expecting exactly this. Commander Vex, negotiations ended when you opened fire. You had your chance for surrender. Now you face the consequences of your choice. Your ships will power down all weapons and engines immediately. Your crews will abandon ship in escape pods. Any vessel that attempts to flee or fight will be destroyed without further warning. Vex looked around his bridge at his surviving crew. They were Krellians, bred and trained for combat, but even warriors knew when they were beaten. The human fleet had demonstrated a level of military capability that made further resistance not just futile, but suicidal. All ships, cease fire, he said quietly. Power down weapons and prepare to abandon ship. Follow human instructions exactly. The order went out across what remained of his fleet. One by one, the Krellian warships went dark, their weapon systems offline and their engines cooling. Escape pods began launching, small silver spheres carrying crews to uncertain fates. Vex stood from his command chair and walked toward his own pod, his career and reputation in ruins. He had attacked what he thought was a helpless research station and ended up facing a military force that outmatched him in every possible way. On the human battleship Indomitable, Admiral Kowalski watched the Krellian surrender with professional satisfaction. His fleet had performed exactly as trained, demonstrating overwhelming force while minimizing unnecessary casualties. The Krellians would survive to face trial for their crimes, and the galaxy would learn an important lesson about attacking innocents while humanity was watching. Captain Foster, he said into the communication system, take a Marine detachment and secure the Zentari station. Provide whatever assistance they need and make sure the artifact they discovered remains protected. The Defiant moved toward the station, its smaller size allowing it to dock directly with the Zentari structure. Marines in powered armor moved through the airlocks, weapons ready, but pointed at the deck in non-threatening postures. They found the Zentari scientists huddled in the central core. Frightened, but unharmed, Captain Foster removed her helmet as she approached Station Chief Marana, revealing a human face that was younger than Marana had expected. The captain smiled warmly. Station Chief, I am Captain Rebecca Foster. Are you and your people all right? We detected some shield damage, but your hull appears intact. Marana studied the human before her. Foster was shorter than a Zentari, more compact and muscular, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She moved with confidence born from training and experience, yet her expression was genuinely concerned for their welfare. We are unharmed thanks to your intervention, Marana replied. But Captain, I must confess confusion. The intelligence reports we received about humanity suggested you were peaceful explorers. Yet you arrived with a battle fleet that defeated experienced Krellian warriors in minutes. How is this possible? Foster's smile turned slightly sad. Station Chief, humanity is peaceful. We prefer exploration and trade to warfare. But we learned long ago that being peaceful does not mean being helpless. Our history taught us that predators respect only strength. So we became strong enough that predators think twice before attacking those we protect. Dr. Kelvin approached, his scientific curiosity overcoming his lingering fear. Your weapons technology is far beyond what we expected from a species so new to space travel. The energy signatures alone suggest research programs that should take centuries to develop. Foster nodded. My people have a saying, Station Chief, necessity is the mother of invention. We spent most of our history fighting each other over resources, territory, and ideology. We got very good at building weapons and tactics for warfare. When we finally achieved peace on our world and reached for the stars, we brought that knowledge with us. Not because we want to use it, but because we know others will. Admiral Kowalski's voice came through Foster's communication device. Captain, we are detecting incoming vessels. Multiple signatures appearing on long-range sensors. Foster tensed. Hostiles? Negative? These are showing Galactic Council identification codes. Looks like a peacekeeping fleet finally arrived. Better late than never, I suppose. The Council ships emerged from hyperspace an hour later, a formation of 30 vessels displaying the emblems of various member species. They were sleek and elegant, designed more for show than serious combat, their weapons modest by human standards. The fleet commander, a dignified being from the Korathi species, opened communication channels to both the human and Zentari vessels. This is Fleet Commander Zelther of the Galactic Council Peacekeeping Force. We received distress signals from this location. What is the situation? Admiral Kowalski responded before anyone else could. Commander Zelther, this is Admiral Kowalski of the human fleet. The situation has been resolved. Krellian Syndicate forces attacked Centauri Research Station, Epsilon. We responded to their distress call and neutralized the threat. Hostile forces have surrendered and await your custody for trial." There was a long pause. Then Zelther's voice returned, carefully neutral. "The human fleet responded to this incident? How many ships did you deploy?" 120 warships, Admiral. We were conducting training exercises in nearby space when the distress call reached us." Another pause, longer this time. Kelvin could imagine the Council commander trying to process this information. Humanity had revealed itself not as helpless newcomers, but as a military power that could rival any in the galaxy. "Admiral Kowalski," Zelther said finally, "the Council will need a full report on this incident. Your deployment of such significant forces without notification raises questions that must be addressed." "I understand, Commander. My government will provide complete transparency regarding our actions. However, I would point out that galactic law permits member species to defend themselves and protect civilians from illegal aggression. The Centauri called for help. We answered. That is all." On the Centauri station, Marana watched the diplomatic exchange with new understanding. The humans had not just saved her people. They had announced their presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Every species would now know that humanity possessed both the capability and willingness to project force across space. Some would be grateful. Others would be terrified. All would be respectful. Captain Foster was helping coordinate repairs to the station's damaged sections, her Marines working alongside Centauri technicians with easy competence. Kelvin approached her again, his curiosity still unsatisfied. "Captain, may I ask you a personal question?" Foster nodded. "Of course, Doctor. Why did you come? Not just your fleet, but you personally. You could have let the Council handle this situation. You risked your life and your people's lives for strangers you had never met. What drives humans to do such things?" Foster looked at him thoughtfully. Then she gestured toward the view screen, where human ships patrolled the area, watching for any remaining threats. "Doctor, my species learned a hard lesson during our history. We learned that evil triumphs when good people do nothing. We learned that standing aside while innocents suffer makes you complicit in their suffering. And we learned that the strong have a duty to protect the weak, not exploit them." She turned back to face him directly. "You called for help, Doctor. That was all the reason we needed to come. Because in our philosophy, the entire galaxy is our neighborhood, and we will not tolerate bullies in our neighborhood." Kelvin felt something shift in his understanding of the universe. The Centauri had always believed that observation and non-interference were the highest virtues, that violent species would eventually evolve beyond their aggressive tendencies. But watching these humans work to repair what the Krellians had damaged, seeing their fierce protection of people they barely knew, he wondered if perhaps the Centauri philosophy was incomplete. Asterisk. Maybe sometimes the universe needed protectors who were willing to fight. Maybe peace required warriors to defend it. Maybe humanity's arrival in the galactic community was not just another species joining the Council, but a fundamental change in how the galaxy would work going forward. Station Chief Marana stood beside Admiral Kowalski later, watching human ships begin their departure. The Admiral had stayed to ensure the Centauri were secure, and the artifact was properly protected until Council specialists could arrive. "Admiral," she said quietly, "what happens now? Will your fleet remain in this region?" Kowalski shook his head. "We will return to our scheduled patrols. But Station Chief, I want you to understand something. What happened here today will spread across the galaxy within days. Species that prey on others will think twice before attacking anyone now. They will wonder if humans are nearby. They will question whether their victims might have friends willing to fight." He smiled slightly. Fear can be a powerful tool for peace when used correctly. Mirana considered this. And if they attack anyway? Then we will come again, as many times as necessary, with as much force as required. Humanity did not travel to the stars to watch civilizations fall to bullies and slavers. We came to explore, to learn, and to build a better galaxy for everyone. Sometimes building that better galaxy requires tearing down those who profit from suffering. The human fleet departed in the same coordinated formation they had arrived in, leaving behind only a small patrol group to ensure the Centauri's safety until Council forces could establish a permanent presence. Kelvin stood in the repaired observatory, watching the human ships disappear into the darkness between stars. The artifact, the Whisper, continued its strange harmonics in its containment field, but somehow it seemed less important now. The galaxy had changed today. A new power had revealed itself, one that combined overwhelming military might with a philosophy of protecting the innocent. The Centauri had sent a distress signal expecting nothing, hoping for anything. Humanity had answered with a war fleet and a simple message. We are here. We are strong. And we will not stand aside while innocents suffer. Dr. Kelvin began composing his report on the incident, knowing that his words would be read by scientists and leaders across dozens of worlds. How do you describe the moment when everything you thought you knew becomes obsolete? How do you explain meeting a species that challenges every assumption about civilization and progress? He settled on simple honesty. Today we learned that humanity is not what we expected. They are neither the peaceful explorers we hoped for, nor the dangerous predators we feared. They are something more complex and perhaps more important. They are protectors who understand that true peace requires strength, diplomacy requires deterrence, and civilization requires warriors willing to defend it. The galaxy called for help. Humanity answered with overwhelming force and absolute commitment. We will never forget what they did here, and neither will anyone else. Outside the station, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the dramas of mortal species. But among those stars, something had shifted. The strong no longer hunted the weak without consequence. The predators had learned that a new apex species had arrived, and the galaxy would spend years learning what that meant for everyone. The Centauri had been saved. But more importantly, a message had been sent that would echo across space for generations to come. Humanity was here, and they had answered the call with thunder. Asterisk.